Hey everybody, how's it going? I mentioned in the last video of my auction power saws that I broke up the footage. I shot too much. That happens as a YouTuber. You're working on a subject and a 20-minute video turns into an hour of awesome footage and you're like, I do not want to delete this. So I broke this up into 2 or 3 videos and here's the remainder of the footage. Today's video, let's jump right back into it. This is right after the last footage you guys saw. Let's jump right back into it and pull the mufflers off each of these saws and see what's going on. Remember, 441 does not start. It pops, but it won't fire. It doesn't run. 261 runs like a Swiss watch. It's got lots of compression, and the 550 has no compression, but also runs like a Swiss watch. So without further ado, let's jump right in and pull the mufflers off these saws and see. The only way we're gonna know what we got is by looking through that exhaust port. It's like I don't know, scratching a lottery ticket or something like that. You win some, you lose some. So let's jump right in with the 441 and pull the muffler off. Okay, 441, typical Stihl, 8mm. And this is loose, so somebody's already pulled the muffler off of this. So that tells me that indeed this probably is going to have a scored up piston. The question is how scored? And that one's loose too. Let's dump these forward. I'm gonna put the boot under the hood and keep all the parts together. When you have as many saws as I do, that's imperative. Now this is probably going to be a Torx, so that's tight. I always like these with the kind of like titanium colored muffler. They look sharp when they're new, like the 462 has. I think they look really nice. This is a good looking saw. Stihl saws are very good looking. Okay, so I'm missing a bolt for the muffler. They didn't put the other one back in. No big deal. Okay, what do we got here? Oh my friends. Wow. Wow, is this thing absolutely trashed. That might be one of the worst piston damages I've ever seen. I zoomed right in here. There's literally a section of the piston missing. It looks like something went through there, probably a piece of bearing. I'll bet you money that that cylinder's no good. Well, there's why she wouldn't start. It probably broke a ring or something, but wow. Just looking to see if I can see inside here. I'll push the decomp in because it still has a little bit of compression, funny story. Well, cylinder looks perfect, so I don't know what happened, friends, but something fell into there or a ring snagged and pop goes the weasel. It's amazing how much damage you can do at, 13,000 RPM. Okay, so whatever, we have a complete saw that's in really nice shape. I would rather buy a blown up saw like that, okay, that's in good shape outside of it, than buy a running saw that looks like it's been dragged behind a truck, because I can rebuild this, right? Okay, MS 260 right here. What do I need to take this off? Okay, so this has 2 screws missing also. Torx. I'm most curious about what this one's going to look like, because this one has all kinds of compression and it runs perfectly. Not to say it doesn't need work. There we go. I think this has spring anti-vibes. Yes, it does. This is probably a really, really nice saw to run. I don't know what the ports look like in this. Okay. Push the decomp in. Oh wow, yeah, this thing's toast. This thing looks like, looks like scoring from carbon. Worst looking piston I've seen in one of the best running saws. Go figure. So this thing's absolutely smoked. So again, I will not be running this one anymore. I wonder what the rest of the cylinder looks like. I might be able to save these. But looking at this, friends, I find when Stihl score, they score real good, and you could spend a whole day trying to get transfer off. And by transfer, I mean the aluminum that has wiped off the piston onto the cylinder. What size is this? Interesting. Oh. I'll probably have to take the top cover off on this one. When these score, it's probably the worst I've ever seen is the 550s I have in my shop. Wow, that bolt is completely smashed. Maybe if I can fit this in there. Nope. Interesting. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go in the shop and grab another tool. When these things blow up, it's usually epic. Husky built a ported saw and sold it to the public with these, and that's why they got such a bad name. Contrary to popular belief, most people should not have ported chainsaws, and I'll probably get some hate for that, but most people do not have a sharp enough chain. Ported saws run really hot, and if you don't keep your chain sharp, guess what? Boom, done. And that's what happened to a lot of these. You gotta have tact when you port saws, because sometimes, not sometimes, but a lot of times, oh, there we go. A lot of times, you got to build the saw for your customer, and if you build more saw than your customer can handle, they will blow it up usually. Especially the torque builds where you can pull a dull chain, make lots of heat. Those usually, if you build a ported saw that'll pull a dull chain, the guy that's running it will pull a dull chain with it, and then pop goes the weasel. And funny story, this one's not that bad. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this one. You'll see it. This one, friends, is just worn out. In fact, I would run this the way it is. This saw has a lot of time on it. I'll pull it up. It's you can probably get away with putting a ring in this saw. Can you guys see in there? It's got wear on it, okay, but it's not scored, it's just worn out. There's a difference. This saw's been in production since 2014, I'm guessing. So this is good because I'll be able to rebuild this one. Now the other ones I have, friends, they both were run dull until they wouldn't run anymore, and they both blew up epically. And I bought them both from the original owners, and they both told me how their saws died, and it was sad. And they both admitted that they ran their saws until, well, the one guy, it was his son. I'll never forget that. He bought a brand new 550, and his son offered to go cut firewood and help out, and I guess he was running it into the dirt, and he literally ran it until it was so smoked that the piston is pretty much welded to the cylinder when I got it. So that one needs bearings, seals, piston, cylinder. Needs a full saw, basically. I don't know where prices are at now, but when I got those, I was like, See, now that these saws are more expensive and the prices of the parts have come down, it does make more sense to rebuild them. But back then, the price, you could buy this saw for like 500 bucks, brand new, and I was gonna have $500 in parts to rebuild them. So now I would rather rebuild the saw myself and say, hey, I did this all myself and it's my saw. But at some point, friends, you gotta, you know, you got to throw the towel in. You can just go and buy a brand new saw. So that's the verdict on these. This saw here is tired but not blown up. In fact, maybe we can get away with just putting a top end on it. It doesn't make any noises. The clutch doesn't, I don't feel any movement there. So that one might just be tired. This one scored up real good, and it makes tons of compression. So we're gonna leave this one. We're gonna leave this one and not run it anymore, because this one here, we don't want it to blow up any worse than it already is. And okay, well, I'm guessing, did this have a gasket on it, friends? I can't remember now. Oh well. I don't think it did. Funny story. But if it did, the repair shop didn't put it back together with one. That's fine. Maybe I'll do a piped 261. Never seen a piped 261. Just trying to put this together loosely so that it's together. So like I said, when you have as many saws as I do, you want to keep stuff together or you end up losing parts. It's a battle. It's not a battle, friends, because I put things where they're supposed to go and that's it. And I box things and I bag them and I keep parts separate, and that's what I have to do. Or like I said, I'll lose parts all the time. And it is funny because this saw has so much compression, you'd think it's a brand new saw. It feels perfect. That's why if you're buying a saw at full market value and you pull it over and it goes thump, 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 don't always think that that means that the saw is perfect, because this is a perfect example. That 261 has it's completely and utterly grenaded, and it's fine, right? It feels fine. When I first pulled that thing over, I was like, wait a minute. But I knew it was a possibility, because this is a government saw. Budgets, friends. Governments have budgets, and sometimes it's just in the budget to get rid of a power saw, is what I've been told. Same thing with my mower, friends. That was a government mower, and I asked the guy when I was buying it, and I mean, he could have told me whatever he wanted, but I ran the mower. It had low hours, and I said to him, what's the deal with this? I don't know if I'm gonna be able to put this together blind. I said to the guy, like, why are you guys getting rid of these? And he said it's in the budget, and that was it. He said we have a budget to buy new mowers, so we buy them. There we go. And that's that. Okay, well, I'm going to tighten this back up. So I think the saw that warrants the most investigation is this 441, because this is the only one that won't run. The other two run fine. They're probably scored on account of having dull chains, and that's that. So they don't really scare me. This 441 won't run the way it is now, which tells me it's probably got a massive air leak, or it needs a carb kit. Or don't forget, these auto-tune M-tronic saws also still need regular maintenance. They still need fuel lines and carb kits and all that kind of stuff. So, okay, well, at least we know what we got. Well, that was kind of a shock. That's leftover footage from all the footage I shot the other day. I didn't think the 550 was going to be in the shape it's in, but that piston looks mint. She's just tired. There you go. A 2014 original edition 550 XP. That's been run. You guys pointed it out. I didn't want to, you know what, friends? I didn't want to poo poo anybody. I didn't want to, but yeah, it's been run by government arborists. And some of you guys had less than positive things to say about them in the comments. Um, Not my pig, not my farm. I'm not a professional cutter, so um, friends, I gotta say something. I see a lot of this on the interwebs. Saw builders are bad for it. My saw's faster than your saw. You don't know what you're doing. Your intakes are too wide, so your saw like cutters now. I see it all the time. Um, you know, you got to hold the saw the way I do, or I run this brand and this brand's better than your brand, or how you fault. Like, friends, I don't get involved in that. I'm not interested in it. It's not constructive to me, and I don't know. If a fella's doing what he does and he's doing good work, I don't care about brands or how you hold the saw or what brand of chain you like or whether you have machine work or not. I don't. Anyways, rant over. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to me. A lot of people say the 550 is garbage. Maybe it is, but 550 XP original edition, run by a government arborist. Sorry, friends, mosquitoes. I'm trying to take it, but I can't. Yeah, 550 XP 2014. So that thing's a decade old, and it legit looks like it's just been run to the point that it's got no compression left. It's done. It's houred out, and I almost, friends, if I have the time, if I can make the trek to the Husqvarna dealer, I wonder if they'll plug that thing in for me and tell me how many hours are on it. I'm curious. But anyways, the 550 was the biggest shock. Not much in the way of compression, no scoring, no damage until we pull it apart. But I don't see any damage. What I see is a saw that is just plain worn out. It might have a crank seal blown out of it or something like that, but top end looks perfect. Somebody shut that thing down, and that's that. So that was the biggest shock here. Other than the 261, that thing thumps. When I pull it over, it's like thump, thump. It makes good compression, but that piston is completely smoked. Like typical Stihl, one end to the other of the exhaust side, completely welded to the bore, and I'll be shocked. I mean, I'll give it a go, friends, but I'll be shocked if I'm not putting a new cylinder on that saw. And again, pistons and cylinders up here in Canada are ridiculously expensive for Stihls. So I'll probably, you guys know what I'm going to do. I'm going to call up Ryan at Wolf Creek, and I'm going to put an aftermarket top end on that thing and keep it running for another day. But the 441 was not a shock. That saw has almost no compression. I didn't think it would run, and it never did run. I haven't had it running yet, but I have a feeling, and some of you guys mentioned in the comments that saw, I bet you it ingested a piece of a bearing. What usually happens in those, friends, when the bearing lets go, it sucks it in, and it ends up going through the transfers, and a lot of times it'll get shot out the upper transfer, and it'll get smoked when the piston's going up and down at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It'll want to exit out the exhaust port, and it usually does, but on its way out, it gets caught by the piston, and it'll break the top of the piston and or the ring off. So, again, if that cylinder's still usable, I will try and use it again, but honestly, it's probably, again, going to be another aftermarket top end. I don't even know if I'm going to port that 441. I may just put a new top end on it, rebuild it, and send it down the road. But it is what it is. I still think I got good deals, friends. You know why? Anytime I can pick up a new saw, something different for you guys to see on the channel, that's a win for me. And when I'm bidding at auction, I'm like super excited to show you guys another power saw. Every region has different saws for sale, and maybe the 441 is the only 70cc saw you can find in your region. Well, we'll do one on the channel. Maybe we can get it running, and once you get it running, I'm sure it'll go for a long time. But anyhow, friends, I think we won all the way around. I paid probably too much on paper, but it don't matter. Just to have those saws on the channel. I've always wanted to do a 261 on the channel. So, and again, I might even just do a base gasket delete and a pipe on that thing and let her buck. Who knows what we're going to do. But it'd actually be interesting to see. Is a ported 260 faster than a stock piped muffler, muffler modded base gasket deleted 261? Only time will tell. Anyhow, friends, I'm going to dig up a question of the day, and let's get right into that. I thought I'd throw in a question of the day at the end of this video. Today's question of the day is from Jesse Rostad. I just got this email the other day, and Jesse wanted to know two things. Number one, who built the pipe for my 572? Was it Mark Trader? Indeed, it was, Jesse. I don't know the deal or whether those pipes are available. That is 100% a Buchan design. Buchan designed that pipe, and Mark built it. The first iteration of that pipe was actually built by the Iron Horse, and Mark did the second iteration. But yes, indeed, the one on my saw is a prototype that Mark built, and I actually lent my 572 to the boys at Super Cool Saws. They're in the south somewhere. It's slipping me. Somewhere down there. Somewhere down yonder in the south, on the east side. I lent them my brand new 572 for R&D, and they sent it back with that sweet pipe on it. So, indeed, that is a Mark Trader pipe, and that's a Buchan design. Don't think they're available, but that's the deal there. Now, the second question that Jesse wanted to know is, when should or shouldn't a fella port a saw or have a saw ported, is what I made from the question. And sorry, friends, the mosquitoes are eating me alive still. But so, Jesse, when shouldn't you port a saw? Well, the main thing for me with who should have a ported saw and who shouldn't is, can you sharpen a chain? If you're running the saw all the time, it's your saw, and you keep a sharp chain and you take good care of the saw, maintenance, you blow it out at the end of the day, then indeed port your saw, because you'll get more out of it and you'll enjoy it more. When shouldn't you port a saw? Well, the inverse of that is, if you run a dull chain, and you got to be honest with yourself. I know some guys get a little testy when you ask them, hey, are you sure that chain's sharp? And some guys don't take that very well, but you guys know, if your chains aren't sharp, you know it. But if you run a dull chain, you don't do maintenance, you probably shouldn't have a ported saw. Now, in terms of which saws should be ported, well, if you have a saw that's fairly new, low hour, and it's in good shape, go ahead and port it. If it's an older saw like the stuff I work on here, let's face it, even the 372s and that have been on my bench are 20 plus years old. Those saws shouldn't be ported until you break them down and make sure the bottom end's in good shape. So I hope that answers your question, Jesse. And for everybody else, thanks for watching. Take her easy, and I'll see you guys in a couple days. Later.